You know, times are tough in the software development economy, which means I've got to get a second job. So why don't you all join me for a segment we call You've Been Served? Order up! First up, pears. So let me get this straight. I can eat a blander and mushier version of an apple? The next thing you're going to tell me is that all you have left is Diet Pepsi. You know you're a terrible fruit when you're used as an insult for someone's figure. Most people say your color is green, but I say it's brown because it's been sitting at the bottom of my trash can for 4 days. Pears, the only thing you're good for is decomposing to fertilize my apple tree. So get your checkbook out because you've been served. Stools. After a hard day of work, the one thing I want to do is go to a bar and sit on a hard rickety tower. Did the inventor of this thing say, hey, let's make a chair for drunk people to fall from more easily? The one thing this stupid invention is good for is torture. Please, I'll do it. I'll tell you anything. I can't take another second of putting 80% of my body weight on 2 small portions of my pelvic bones. Stools, this costs more than you're worth. You've been served. No racing signs. Let me tell you something. If you have to put up signs for something that's already very illegal, you done up. Honestly, you're just advertising that really cool racing happens here. It's like that sign your principal put up on the bathroom doors. Stop raw dogging in the stalls! Putting out condoms or something would have been a way more dignified response. Somebody in government had to approve a sign like this. You know, I imagine they were like, we have a serious street racing problem here in this city. And then somebody was like, hey, let's put up a sign that says, maybe don't do that. And then everyone's all like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, he's so smart. And then one of the baffled interns was like, but wouldn't that just waste taxpayer money because it doesn't actually do anything to address the problem? And then the other guy's like, shut up, Jeremy. You do not have permission to speak. Now go fetch me a Doritos Locos Taco Supreme and it better have extra guac from Chipotle on it. I bet the badasses who street race were like, I'm willing to risk my driving record, an expensive vehicle, and perhaps my life to race. But now that I see this sign, I'm getting second thoughts. But since we're handing out impractical signs, I want one that says, stop ejaculating on my petunias during business hours. Now, I don't have petunias, but maybe I would if I had a taxpayer-funded sign. No racing signs. The taxpayers won't cover your tab for this one. You've been served. Kumon. At last, a building to indicate which students are losers. As if 6.5 hours of school and 2 to 3 hours of homework wasn't enough, you're saying my kid can do even more school and I can pay money for it? What a bargain! Finally, a way to give parents a false hope that their kid won't become an influencer for 10 to 20 years. Really? You just post a random meal you made? That doesn't cut it in this day and age. You know, you gotta turn up the gas. Do a mukbang or something. If you aren't feeling an excruciating amount of physical pain, you're not doing it right. If 10 to 12 hours of schooling doesn't do the trick, maybe there's a different problem going on. Kumon, you're the perfect way to tell your kids that you hate them and that you can't bear to be with them for more than an hour. Also, isn't that face a bit on the nose? Kumon, I hope this will break your back like a giant stack of homework. You've been served. Banks with pen chains. If you can't keep a pen from being stolen, how the hell are you supposed to be in charge of keeping my money safe? Also, why are these chains so short? I'm worried my check's gonna bounce because your short-ass pen chains make my signature look like a freshly coughed up hairball. And how is it culturally acceptable to hold down a pen with what looks like anal beads for gerbils? Banks with pen chains, you've been served. Open concept schools. Do you like those schools they built in the 70s where they were either too high, lazy, or broke to build walls? Then you should try open concept schools. Was your classroom not distracting enough with over 30 students? Well, fear not, because why not try all the trouble kids from every classroom? Now all the school's hot goss and your deepest, darkest secrets from counseling can be broadcast across the school at light speed. Word of mouth is obsolete. Who was put in charge of building no walls in the school? The Kool-Aid Man? When I first saw one of these, I was like, so they made a school out of a warehouse? Which aisle is the toilet paper in? Open concept schools, just like the frozen but scalding hot schlop from the lunchroom, You've been served. Ladyfingers. This treat answers the question, what if we shriveled up a tasteless wafer and then put a little bit of sugar on top? Somehow they made this cookie all air and blander than a golf tournament featuring all Mitt Romneys. Also, what's with that creepy name Ladyfingers? Sounds like your weird uncle who forgot to bring a dessert for the Halloween potluck and then frantically searched his pantry finding crappy off-brand cracker sticks and haphazardly poured barely melted sugar on it, and then when he got to the party he had to come up with a name for it and then he said, fuck it, Ladyfingers? Ladyfingers, choke on this. You've been served. Wine. Since when did fizzy sour grape extract become an acquired taste? Why do I have to learn geography to know what a wine tastes like when I'm just trying to unwind? Just call it a f***ing Prosecco. You notice we don't do the same thing with sodas. Nobody cares where the water for Dr. Pepper came from. Well, unless that was Dr. Flint, Michigan. Still better than Franzia, am I right? Wine, I'm gonna unnecessarily jack the price for this. You've been served. Well, it looks like my shift is over. See you next week for some headlines, probably. This has been You've Been Served.